Firstly, you're all very welcome to the farm, and thank the IHFA for having it here. I suppose if we go through where we're at the minute, why this system, I know it's a lot of it up there. We moved up here in 2008, and so we're still farming on the home farm, but this is a far superior quality block of land. So when we bought this farm, we also bought the cows, and we graded up the cows that were here, and then in a year and a half after milking in the two herds, we put the herds together, and then by mainly natural selection we have what we have out there today. A lot of the families that were on the home farm eventually kind of pushed to the fore, and eventually we had nearly all our own breeding. So the land quality, as we all know, you might pay a lot more for a good acre of ground, but you only know the true value of it when you have it. So the land at home was kind of 6-7 month ground, where this is 8-10 month ground. We're getting out in late February or early March here, and we're staying out until early November. Anyone that was here in the early part of when we took over, we had poorish enough facilities, so we have had to develop the farm, which has happened kind of more over the last 5 or 6 years when we've put a bit of money together. The farm would be fairly well borrowed to buy this place, but thankfully that has worked very well, and we're getting through that loan. I suppose why the system? We're on a tighter block of ground. We have more land on the home farm, but this is better ground, easier to manage, so I wanted a higher output cow. And I suppose we were never afraid to feed the cow that we had. So that was the cow that suited me. We had proudly come from a British Friesian herd, and kind of, I suppose, had been slowly moving towards Holstein. And I suppose when you come from a British Friesian herd, you value strength maybe more. You want to keep your strength, your dairy strength, but you want the production of the Holstein. And I suppose at this stage we have a relatively good level of production in the herd, which I don't plan to increase more. We plan probably to try, and our solids have maintained fairly static, although our protein has slipped slightly in the last 12 months. So I probably need to go back to using maybe more double-digit bulls now on top of the higher milk bulls to get back up to that little over that 3.5 protein. However, the milk solids per cow are quite good. I suppose doing what we're doing, we've tried to bring the conformation, and it's if you see the few cows behind you there, I suppose when we talked about this day, this was not really, even though I love a beautiful cow, as we said, this was not a pigeon fancier's day. This was down-to-earth cows doing a job that are pedigree registered, and we've still tried to keep the conformation in the cow. The average score of the cow is 85.7 for the whole herd, and I think there's 50 excellent cows in the farm, and maybe 100 VGs and a lot of good pluses. I suppose a value a thing I really appreciate, if I do blow my own trumpet, in our cows is the average lactations. It's what we've tried to strive for. I always remember being at a field evening and a judge moved in from the heifers and into the second calvers. It was in June, and he said, "This is June." He says, "Those second calvers have only started making money for the farmer in this month. Up to that, they've cost us money to get them there." So getting a long number of lactations is our goal. We've a lot of cows on 7s and 8s. There's a cow in there on her 13th lactation. Her daughter is there. on her 6th lactation, and her daughter is there going, moving and in calf to her 3rd lactation. So it's putting the generations back to back is what we're trying to do. On the herd EBI, it's fairly balanced. However, I probably need to improve my fertility subindex. My milk subindex is quite good. The health is actually unusually high, but we have been focusing on that for a number of years. Higher is that we're feeding maize and beet. The beet is bought in, the maize is grown on the home farm and transported up there. Hopefully in the next 3 weeks there'll be 60 acres of maize going in beside that pit there, just right in beside it. So we're trying to fuel, as it says on the tin, trying to fuel the cow to perform, have a fairly flat lactation curve, have a fairly flat supply curve. We have 420,000 in the winter milk scheme, which is from November to February. So we calve 100 animals in the autumn time, and then we sell in-calf heifers and probably milk between 60 and 70 fresh cows during the autumn period. I suppose down through the years, we've had, like most people, we've been using a lot of bulls on the breeding end. I kind of, as time has gone on, I think what works best for me is using a smaller team of bulls and getting a more uniform, trying for a uniform herd in the field and uniform groups in the younger groups. What I was finding was using too many bulls, too much variation, too many tall ones, too many small ones. We want something in between, easier to manage, and then that can help us manage the cows and the groups better. We will use. Strong emphasis on type, and when I say type, I mean functional type. A cow that will help us. I'm sure it's no different than any of the other farmers up along the run. But look at decent feet and legs, decent width through them, decent dairiness that can produce the milk. We use 100% sex semen on the heifers. We've got responses from as low as 50. Our kind of happy spot, I think, is about 63 or 64% first conception. I think our worst performance was in an autumn, and our best performance was in a spring, which you would think. So it's obvious that it was my management, both good and bad, at different periods, just made it work better for us. The labour on the farm, I've been very lucky. One of the biggest assets on the farm down through the years have been the people that worked here with me. Owen, Anne-Marie, Ethan, Shay, Collins with us now. They make it happen with me. I can't make it happen on my own. They are a huge part of the place, and they, in my mind, have built the place with us because it just can't happen without them, and they've always been so committed. And we've also had a number of students down through the years, and they've always been pretty much across the board terrific people to work with. On the management side, I always try and I don't try and listen to too many people, but I try and listen to a few people that can help me and try and make the business better. This is not an advertisement for IFAC by any manner or means, but I'm going to plug them. So they have been involved in the business since my dad's time. My dad, Bill, who really got the show on the road. And using financial management has helped us plan our future. I suppose, firstly, they got us through and helped us through the transition from father to son, business pass on. Then they got us through the purchase in '08, and there was a good bit of money borrowed and spent. And then in latter times, we've got through the development, and the cash flow has been a huge, huge help to us. So we tried to do a lot of this without reaching for more borrowed money. And with the cash flow, it gave me the confidence to do it because we knew what was going to happen 5 and 6 months ahead of time, projecting milk price, projecting heifer sales. And so it has been a huge, huge help. And Darren and Philip are looking after me now in guiding me through financial things. The end use, I leave that to Patrick, whether that's good or bad. We work with Chagas here, and I suppose the farm exports slurry, but it looks like we're heading towards derogation, and that will have a knock-on effect. If I stay doing what I'm doing in terms of exporting, I'm going to have to find an awful lot more land. The slurry is exported in physical and on paper. It's done above and right. But in order to do that in the future, I would need to find possibly another 30 hectares, and I probably would need to reduce my numbers by 50 to 60 cows and followers. So if we go into derogation, don't hold me to those exact numbers, but we're not far off there. If we're to go into derogation, we'll probably have to reduce the cow numbers by about 10 and followers. But so that's a lot of what I have to say. Maybe I haven't said enough or said too much, but I suppose one of the great joys in the herd is that there's 61 cows with over 4,000 kilos of solids produced, and they're still here working away. I think if I ever see a slip in that average lactation in a dramatic fashion, I know I have to change something in something that I'm doing. Either I'm getting my breeding wrong, or I'm getting my management wrong, or we're doing something wrong here. That's a shocking important figure, because the longer they stay here, the more animals I have to sell, the more money I can generate out of the cows we have here. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. There's terrific guys up along the run there doing terrific job in a different way, and I suppose if the pedigree, before I stop, I suppose the pedigree, you know the way they always putting value into what you're doing, putting value, added value. I suppose that's why I'm very committed to pedigree. I feel it's for that registration. It adds value to the stock on this farm. It adds value to what we're doing. And you can make life a hell of a lot more complicated by trying to add values in different ways. But we can do this by registering our stock and having an animal to sell that has a background and has a track record, and hopefully they live up to that track record. Thank you very much.